Okay, I have never actually said this, and maybe I should have say this now, but let me just say this. In the restaurant business, it is very, very tight margins. There's not really a whole lot of room. And with the breakdown of the supply chain, which has not been fixed either, it's kind of like a double whammy. So, and with all of the delivery services and all of those fees, I mean, I'm glad I don't own a restaurant at this point. Absolutely. Well, you know, I know that you remember the repo crisis in September 2019, which was really the beginning of the end. And the reason, for viewers that aren't familiar with it, the importance of the repo market, it's how corporations fund their day-to-day operations. And it's tied directly into money markets. So you have an investment account and you have some cash that you want to maintain. And so you think that a money market account is like a savings account, but it's not, because that's used to fund the repo market, which froze back in September of 2019. And then Jay Powell went in, pumped a whole bunch of money in there. You know, we watched it. You could go on the Federal Reserve of New York's website and see how much they were pumping in on a day-to-day basis. Interestingly enough, in June, it flatlined. All of a sudden, if you go into the Federal Reserve's website to look at what's happening with repos and reverse repos, it's at zero, a big fat goose egg. What? They don't need to help that funding market anymore, or it's gone dark. And when things go dark, that means that they are hiding something. The other thing, and I just saw this the other day, TYVIX, which is the volatility index on that 10-year treasury, which is the foundation of the global market. It's the largest market in the world. It's the foundation of it. They stopped publishing it. May 15th, 2020, last day that they published it. 2 weeks before the Federal Reserve of New York went dark on what they're doing in the repo market. We're good in that our wholesalers are still willing to allow us to position a product with a client, but you're going to have to wait maybe 3 months before you're going to get it. Now, if they didn't think they were going to get it, we would not be able to position it. We wouldn't be able to sell it. So that's the good news. And this same thing happened in 2008, but this has been going on now for a year, for almost a year. And what that tells me, I can tell you, I'm not selling my gold or silver. I'm buying as much of it as I can, as often as I can, and I don't care what the premium is, because 100%, I mean a gazillion percent, I know that the fiat money prices that they want you to believe gold and silver is worth, they have not been reflecting a true supply-demand market probably in about forever, but certainly since the central banks came in after 2008 and said, we are going to manage these markets. And that's for their own protection. You know, number one, if you are counting on Wall Street to give you a fair valuation on anything, you really need to think again, because this is not a free market environment. You know, it is a market environment, and I'm a capitalist. I will say that outright. I am 100% a capitalist, but what we're experiencing is not capitalism, it's fascism. And I'm not a fascist, I'm a capitalist. So, last March, let me tell you, when gold and silver will be untethered from this is when it gets too expensive to continue to support the system. And I'm talking about for the central banks. Or they lose control, which looks like is what's happening right now, where they choose to lose control. That's all part of the perception management. I mean, we've been trained not to have a garden, to go to the grocery store, to go out and buy food that's already created. We're dependent upon the grid for our energy. This was all by design. I mean, I'm not saying that I want to go back to where I have to do absolutely everything myself. That's the importance of community. And keep in mind that they always use how it will impact the public as an excuse for maintaining their bad behavior. But at some point, we just have to rip that Band-Aid off. And I think that we need to be, I'm a huge proponent on being prepared. Food, water, energy security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. And that is personally what I've done for myself. So if we look at what happened last March during the lockdowns, where was your pain? And then fill in those holes so that when that happens again, because you may not want it to happen, but I got news for you. We're transitioning into a whole new system. It's going to happen. It has to happen to justify the transition. So you want to sustain your standard of living as much as you possibly can with all of those things. And going back to silver, I personally use silver for barterability. It's small, it's compact. I can keep it hidden in my pocket easily enough, and I can put a tank of gas in my car, or, actually my current car is, it's a hybrid, so it's electric and it's gas. So that kind of helps prolong that. But I think we all need to become our own central bankers and make sure that we have sound money. That's where gold and silver come in huge. And when they are hitting it like this, even though you're paying a premium, it's a bargain. I really need to crunch those numbers. But an ounce of gold is, based upon all the money that they've created, the last time I did it was before COVID, actually. And at that point, it was $12,500. So, if something's $12,000 and you can buy it for $2,000, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And silver, at least minimum $600. You can buy it for $25, $35, $50. Why wouldn't you? That makes no sense to me at all. So I just keep accumulating, just like the central bankers are. If they impose a wealth tax, the wealthy will simply run to gold to preserve their wealth.